A major court ruling in the key swing state of Colorado regarding the 2024 presidential primary ballot. One man is dead and another behind bars after a shooting Friday in the Sun River area. According to court documents, Dalton Feeler is facing a charge of deliberate homicide for allegedly shooting and killing his father, Jason Feeler. Authorities are investigating a series of shootings, carjackings, and pursuits that left the suspect and two other people dead on Wednesday. New tonight at 10, the UN Security Council approving a resolution today that will provide pauses in hostilities and enable humanitarian aid to get to the Palestinian civilians that are trapped there by the fighting between Israel and Hamas. Every year around the holidays, the calls regarding crisis go up, especially those involving mental health, according to the Lewis and Clark County Sheriff's Office. But mental health issues do not discriminate. It can affect you, me, and even the officers responding to those calls. Now tonight, I take a look into how law enforcement here in the capital city are working to combat the stress that often comes along with responding to those sometimes traumatic calls.
Patrol 508.
Lewis and Clark County Sheriff's Office Patrol Captain Brian Robinson never knows what's in store when he zips up his vest and starts his shift.
It's okay to not be okay.
Robinson spent more than 23 years in law enforcement in Helena. He says crisis calls are at an all-time high, often putting extra stress on him and his fellow officers.
Yeah, there's definitely an uptick.
We're human. That's the big thing. Sorry, I feel emotional. We are human, and we get, not yelled at, but we get criticism from both sides all day long. So just remembering that when you have an interaction. We do go take this stuff home with us. Try not to, but it does go home with us.
For the community, there is Crisis Intervention Team Training, or CIT. It is a 40-hour class every officer within the Sheriff's Office is required to complete. It teaches law enforcement how to de-escalate situations and better connect with someone in crisis. So
how we approach that, the tone in our voice, simple things like hand gestures. What do you do with your hands that's not intimidating or threatening? One of the key factors in the class that I teach with a huge group of wonderful people is active reflective listening.
When it comes to internal matters, that's a harder issue to address.
You box it up and you put it away. And then as your career goes on, you box it up, put it away, box it up, put it away. Then sooner or later, everybody in their career is going to have something that just makes their cup run over.
Recently, they started implementing debriefs for critical incident stress management. Clinicians are brought in to unpack crisis calls. Officers are dispatched to. The goal is to break the stigma around mental health in law enforcement.
The point of that is to be able to release those thoughts and release, talk about what happened in a safe environment.
It's normal for them to host 60 debriefs in a quarter. That's 240 traumatic calls a year. But by addressing the trauma involved in these calls, they say it makes them stronger in the long run and helps them help those in the community who may be in crisis.
We talk about our own personal experiences that we've experienced in our careers and how it affected us. Some of us have lost marriages over it. Some of us have been to counselors. Some of us are, have to deal with taking medication every day just to deal with some of the things that we've seen. So we're trying to get that out there that you're human, okay? You are not Superman.
So if you may be dealing with a mental health issue this holiday season, the Lewis and Clark County Sheriff's Office says that they are there and ready to help. But remember, it's okay to not be okay, especially around this time of the year. Reporting in Helena, I'm Cindy Centofanti for MTN News. Adaptive Performance Center is doing much more than just helping our service members become physically fit. It's also helping them become mentally stronger, as well as creating a sense of community.
I was blown into a light pole. My shoulders were destroyed. My Kevlar was broken. Eddie Agostana spent 6 years in the Marine Corps and has lived through 2 heavy combat tours to Iraq between '03 and '04. Hitting a roadside explosive, he recalls, was not nearly as painful as the mental anguish he brought back home with him post-deployment.
There was this deafening silence where there was nothing but the sounds of all the things that were going on down there. And all the people that were going on, and then they clashed so harshly with the reality of being outside back home.
Anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress, and a traumatic brain injury weighing heavy on him brought him to an all-time low.
I put the knife to my neck and I try to pull it across.
In the midst of his pain and as a last-ditch effort, he turned for help, seeking refuge in physical fitness. Enter the Adaptive Performance Center, a gym solely dedicated to veterans and active duty service members to help guide those who were once lost, like Agostana, and get them back to better.
Mitch and I saw a lot of holes in services that existed to the veterans. One of the things that we did that really, I feel like, made us stand out from gyms is if we didn't see you for a couple of weeks, you got a phone call.
Karen Peterson, the CEO of the gym, opened the Helena location a year ago. Since opening, they have added 600 plus veterans and active duty service members.
We've grown quite a bit and we've added a lot of things.
Thanks to a $750,000 grant awarded to APC from the VA last week, called the Staff Sergeant Parker Gordon Fox Suicide Prevention Grant. They will be able to add more crucial positions such as therapists and veteran peer support coordinators.
We were able to go from the 4 of us up to 17 employees in 2 locations.
One of those new additions to the staff is Agostana, who, after finding his purpose and community, now serves as the Helena gym manager, doing what he loves, helping other veterans facing the same roadblocks that APC once helped him overcome. The Montana Highway Patrol here at the Helena Capitol are seeing an ongoing rise in threats as national security continues to rise across the nation because of geopolitical issues overseas. However, for one trooper and his K-9 partner, they're making sure the Capitol and the Helena area is a safer place. Last week, the state of Montana went on alert as hundreds of bomb threats were reported at schools and places of worship across the Treasure State. The Federal Bureau of Investigation's Director Christopher Wray attributed these threats to Hamas's ongoing attacks against Israel.
I've never seen a time where all the threats, or so many of the threats, are all elevated, all at exactly the same time.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
That's where Montana Highway Patrol Trooper Thomas Cruz and his K-9 partner Ringo come into the picture.
The potential as a threat, they're certainly real, and so we take them, each threat as real.
He and K-9 Ringo are trained to sweep areas for explosives anytime a threat is reported.
Fine Gifty.
Once Ringo locks on to one of the nearly 20 chemical compound explosive scents he is trained on, he alerts his handler.
When we do find that, then to back out and let the bomb squad take care of things. But there's always that potential that you might run into something, then you don't have time to back out.
Even though this most recent string of threats turned out to be nothing after law enforcement did a thorough search, that does not mean that it couldn't happen again, especially at the Capitol.
We deal with that day in and day out. Whatever cause is out there and is popular at the time, this is typically where they'll come.
No matter what Trooper Cruz and Ringo may encounter in a day, he says having his 4-legged furry partner by his side helps him navigate this day and age in law enforcement.
Oh, he means everything. Not just from just having a sweet dog and a human and a dog, that relationship, if you've owned a dog, you've experienced that.
Now, because K-9 Ringo gets to go home with his handler at the end of the night, his Trooper Cruz tells me that he's just like any other dog. He loves to go dock jumping, mountain hiking, as well as, of course, the occasional treat. But for now, signing off here at the Capitol, Cindy Centofanti for MTN News.
Michael Sullivan,
A white rose representing service members who succumbed to wars inside their minds. The sounds of Amazing Grace ringing out in the Capitol Rotunda. A bell to shatter the silence on America's fallen heroes.
You can only imagine the trauma that they go through on a daily basis, and they don't always get the help that they need.
Montana Lieutenant Governor Kristen Juras, just one of many advocates who gathered Tuesday at the Capitol to speak out on soldier suicides.
Served in 3 combat tours. My main tours were in Iraq. And the return home is what so many Montana veterans have dealt with and transitioned and struggled with.
Juras acknowledging that Montana has a high rate of veteran suicides, now ranked 5th, but pledging state administration will do better.
We need to improve our mental health care throughout the state. And Governor Gianforte, this administration, we are absolutely committed to improving the delivery of services in mental health care.
Legislators just passed a $300 million mental health bill that tasks the state with forming a 9-person commission, who by July 2024 will provide a report to the governor's office with their recommendations on addressing suicide and mental health. Yet service members present inside the Capitol Tuesday say they can't wait until next year to see change.
Approximately 17 veterans a day who, while seeking the care they need, tragically lose their battle with the invisible wounds. The weight of this statistic, the faces behind these numbers demand our attention and action.